सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज.
The miseries of material existence and the most hopeless conditions of life is the best possible opportunity to turn to God.
You're listening to Bare Knuckle Bhakti Shorties on the Bhakti Recovery Podcast with Jiva G, coming at you every Monday with a little spiritual something. Good morning, my friends. I hope you all are well, and I have some sad news. We had a devotee friend take her own life yesterday. I'm not going to put her name on here, just to respect the privacy of her and her family. It's no one that's been in the Bhakti Recovery group. It's just someone I know outside of that community. And she was a alcoholic and a drug addict and had a lot of mental health issues. A codependent, abusive relationships. And she gave so much to her community. And these things can happen at the same time. The reason why I'm saying this, in some 12-step programs we say the results can be jails, institutions, and death. And because she didn't go to jail, and because she actually didn't have resources to go to an institution, or she didn't want to, death was the result in this life for now. You know, this episode is going to be very, very hardcore NA, because it calls for that now. It calls for the absolute wake-up call. If we live our addiction, if we are using on a daily basis, the results will always be jails, institutions, and death. I'm not talking about the occasional user, the occasional drinker. I'm talking about the full-blown addict. People like me, who are fortunate enough to have one moment of clarity and to know that if I keep doing this, I've experienced jails, I experienced institutions, I even experienced death, actually, a few times, until I finally understood that this will be a cycle of misery. That cycle of misery, of seeking pleasure through drugs, relief through drugs, relief through escape, that catches up with you. And that what was your solution becomes your problem. There's absolutely no person who's a full-blown addict like myself that I know that hasn't experienced jails, institutions, and deaths. The nature of this disease is that it wants to kill us. I have a disease that puts me in denial and tells me I don't have a disease, and is doing push-ups every day and getting stronger. And the weaker my consciousness gets, the weaker my recovery gets, The weaker those things get, the stronger my disease gets, the stronger my addiction becomes, the more I ignore, shut the door on, bury, use on, drink about, all of those things, they will creep up and they will put me in a headlock. This disease is deadly, and it's no joke. And I'm only grateful, just so grateful, that I was one of the ones who could get out. It's a daily reprieve, people. It's a daily reprieve. It's like being in the trenches, guys. My life has been saved through a 12-step program, and my spirit was saved by Krishna consciousness. Later. At first, the 12-step program was everything I needed. It's still everything I need. I just need something more on the top now. So many people don't understand the nature of this disease. Actually, we don't understand the nature of the disease. We just know that it's something that wants to take us out. But the longer we choose recovery, and the longer we choose to hold on to God, and hold on to the things that empower us, and hold on to the things that make us better, whether it's like eating your damn spinach. At some point, you're going to love it. And the more we do that, the quieter those demon voices become. I remember when I first got into recovery, all that madness, all that chaos, all those voices, the voices that I couldn't stop on my own. The draw to use or to think in that way was greater than my ability to choose something better. And sometimes for some people, it's a slow process and they learn to let go of that. It didn't really happen that way for me. It happened literally in a blitz moment. One blitz moment where I knew it was a lightning bolt of God. That's how I can see it. It was a divine intervention. Divine intervention. God just was standing on that street corner. You know, we drove by that in Berlin when I was visiting last weekend or 2 weekends ago. I drove by that corner and that Woolworths is still there. That Woolworths is still there. That Woolworths that was there and closed up in 1997 in February, where that voice came to me on that empty night where I just got out of jail and I was looking for a fix, sick as a dog, defeated, beaten into complete submission. And that moment on that street, right on the right side of me was Woolworths, where God just took the obsession away from me. It was one thought: this can't be the rest of my life. And I ran with that. To stop was actually about a 2-week process, a 1.5-week process. I cut myself down. It's a long story. Sometimes you can listen to it at some, I don't know, it's somewhere out there in the World Wide Web. But at some point, I just knew, at that point, actually, I just knew that the jig was up. That's it. It's done. It's over. I can't anymore. And that's what came out of my mouth. This can't be the rest of my life. It literally came out of my mouth as if I wasn't speaking. And that realization came, and the relief came immediately, knowing I don't have to do this anymore. And how do I know that it was a miracle? Well, because right after that, it took a week to get home, because back then there wasn't, computer transfers. It was all like, it was complicated back then to get a plane ticket, getting paid from the States to Germany. And in that week, I completely cut myself down from heroin, cut it down every day, slowly but surely, with absolute no problem, and looking forward to the very last bit, and looking forward to kicking that habit physically and mentally. I was excited. And that's exactly what happened. There's no way when my active addiction had the hold of me that I would ever be able to use modestly and let it just, just a little bit. So I do consider myself blessed. So blessed. Because I don't know. I mean, there are people who did it at first with willpower and then let God in their lives. I just didn't have that willpower. It was not possible for me. I'd been trying. I think I had been trying with willpower 3 weeks. I've been trying to stop heroin with willpower almost just 4 weeks into me taking it in the first place. So it was a fight from the beginning. From the very beginning, it was a fight. 10 years of fight. Which in a heroin career, that's pretty short, actually. I was still one of the fortunate ones. When I came into recovery, it wasn't only that I decided not to use anymore. There's no way that I could have done it without a program. Because when I admitted that I was powerless, because it was so clear, and that my life had become unmanageable, which was also abundantly clear. When I deeply realized that, and deeply with humility admitted that, I needed somewhere to turn after that. Where did I turn? Where did I turn after that? I turned into the second step, because I came to believe that a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity. And why did I come to believe that? Because I know in the first step, and on that day in front of that Woolworths, on that street, the obsession to use was lifted in a moment's time. That's how I know. It was divine intervention, people. I get really emotional thinking about it. Really sorry. When we get to the third step, after that, when I got to the third step, making a decision to turn my will and my life over to the care of Krishna, to the care of God. When that happened, miracles happened in my life daily, because my eyes were wide open. People call this a pink cloud, and I call it God's grace period. God gives you a grace period. It's like being a parent. He was a parent. He let things happen so that I could see God's work in everything. That's why in the program we say we always want the beginner eyes. The eyes of a beginner. I want the eyes of a beginner always. When life goes well, it's hard to see all the miracles. When everything's going the way we want it to, that becomes the normal for a little while. But it wasn't like that. For me, I saw God's hand in everything. Every single thing. I'm going to share a story. I was about 6 months clean. I was living in Chicago, staying on my mother's couch. This is a crazy story. I actually don't even want to tell it. But now I've opened my big mouth. I've never really told this story. So, I was on the train home. It was late. It was the night. And everybody always told me in Chicago, especially where my mom lived, it was not a good neighborhood to either get in the front of the train or the back of the train because the exits are there because a lot of muggings happen on the platform in the middle of the night. But I ran for the train and I got to the middle of the train and I stayed in the middle of the train thinking, oh, it'll be fine. So I got out of the train and I started walking. I was in the middle of the train. I got off of my stop and this dude was following me. It was a totally empty platform. And by the time I got to the exit, he grabs me, put his elbow into my throat and pushes me up against the wall and tells me to give him his money. Give me my money. I mean, give him my money. As I'm speaking, I'm visualizing all of this. I had just gotten this Star of David from my dad. A nice gold Star of David that I wore. And he told me to give it to him. And I just looked at him with the most pity in my eyes. I couldn't believe how empathetic I was towards him. He's a crackhead, you can clearly see, wanting to get drugs. And before I gave him everything, I said, I'm going in my pocket, I'm going to give you something. And he looked at me like, what the And I had an NA meeting list. And I said, brah. I don't think I said brah, because back then it wasn't brah. I think I said, yo. Check this out. Come to a meeting. You need help. And he got pissed. He was like, what the I'm not going to curse, but what the F you talking about? Blah, blah, blah. And I told him, I've been in your position. I know what it's like. This could stop right here, right now. And then he started telling me, shut the hell up. Give me your jewelry, give me your money. I said, I don't have a problem giving you my jewelry and my money. Here, take it. But what I really want you to take, because here you got it, this is gold, is the meeting list. And then he was quiet. And he let go of his grip. This was all happening with his elbow in my neck against the wall. And I said, I'm serious, man. I'll be at this meeting at this time. Just come. And he looked at me like I had 8,000 alien heads on me. And then he said, if I go to that meeting, are you going to have the police waiting for me? And I was like, hell no. And I tried to convince him that he's safe and I won't call the police. There is no police when it comes to this. And then there's a little bit more, but I don't want to go into that. It's irrelevant to the story. He left. And I walked home with a smile on my face. Because I hoped that I would 12-step him, and I hoped that he would get into a meeting. That's a miracle. That's a miracle. And I truly believe that God put me in that position to tell him that he has a choice. And I think we're all in the position, especially if we have suffered in that way. Every one of us is in the position to spread that message. I'm really humbled, by hearing about this suicide. It makes me deeply sad. I tried to 12-step this person. I tried talking about the program. I tried inviting her to the program. And there was nothing that I can do. Advanced alcoholism and drug addiction is enemy number one for me and countless others. Maybe not everyone, but for me and countless others, it's enemy number one. If I stay clean and sober today, I have a way better chance of having a life where I can just be acceptant of things and see God's hand in everything. It was embarrassingly easy for me to, in the end. It was a horrible journey up until that point. A struggle, a fight, constantly fighting with myself. But once that moment came for me, and that's my experience, I dropped it like it's hot. And I didn't question it. It was clear as day. Clear as day. I just hope, can you guys say a prayer for this kind soul who's given so much? She's given so much to the community and suffered so long. It always gets me when I see somebody getting taken out from this disease. Could have been me, people. Could be you. Could be you. Hare Krishna, everyone. I love you all. Cherish this day. See God's hand in everything. See God's hand in everything. Just today. Hare Krishna. Thanks for listening. I hope you liked the Monday Shorties. Don't forget to check out our full-length episodes on Thursdays. If you like what you heard, spread the word. Peace out.
सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज.
The miseries of material existence and the most hopeless conditions of life is the best possible opportunity to turn to God.